Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Clockedin with me, your host, Jordan Edwards. I'm thrilled to have you tune in as we dive into the dynamic world of productivity, success, and stories of incredible individuals who've mastered the art of getting things done. Whether you're commuting, hitting the gym, or just relaxing at home, this podcast is the go-to source for inspiration and actionable tips to level up your productivity game. I'm on a mission to unravel the secrets of those who seem to effortlessly manage their time and achieve their goals. So if you're ready to clock in and unlock your full potential, you're in the right place. We've got a lineup of amazing guests, industry experts, and thought leaders who will share their insights and strategies to help us crush your to-do list and make the most out of every moment. Get ready to get inspired, motivated, and equipped with the tools you need to supercharge your productivity. This is Clockedin with Jordan Edwards. Let's dive in. Hey, what's going on, guys? We got a special guest today. We have Simon Leslie. He's the founder and chief executive of Inc., a global travel media company. At the onset of the pandemic, Simon's business plummeted from projections of earning $150 million to nothing, almost overnight. He has been able to work his company back to the top and is an incredible story of grit, creativity, and resilience. As a mentor and a serial entrepreneur to many young entrepreneurs, he also coaches worn-out business leaders on how to live a life of their dreams. Over the last 30 years, he's dedicated his skill of creating amazing media in the travel space. He's a world record holder for the amount of inflight magazines he launches and published. With over 250 million copies of magazines published in the last 30 years, he knows a thing or two about crafting travel media. His clients include major airlines, airports, travel groups. In 2018, he helped build ReachTV into the biggest airport TV network in the world. Simon, how are we doing today?
Well, that makes me sound rather good.
Yeah, I mean, with an intro like
good.
that.
I'm doing good.
Awesome. So Simon, where does your story start? How does one get to this point? Where does it all start?
You know, I always say to people, my story was a bit like a pan of boiling water. It was a real slow start. And then it started to bubble and bubble and bubble. And now it's really, really bubbling. Now I'm going like Billy-O. But, you know, I had a very, very nice upbringing. I grew up in Wales. And then when I was about 11 years old, I moved to London. I was a completely rubbish student. Education and me, we didn't see eye to eye. And I don't think I was stupid, but I just didn't like being taught. I didn't like that education process. So as soon as I could leave school at 17, I was out. And I got the first job I could find in the newspaper, which was earn money, ask me how. And then I took the paper. I went along and I got the job, and I thought I was super talented because every other job I'd gone for had been rejected. And then I realised they gave everybody the job, so I wasn't special. But it was a real education, and I was selling insurance door to door. That was my very first job, and I excelled at it, and I kept getting promoted, and I kept getting given bigger teams. And I guess the messages were coming in early. I was good at finding talent, nurturing talent, developing talent, and helping people achieve things that they didn't think they were quite capable of. And that's what I do today. So nothing's really changed in 35 years other than, you know, the companies I work with and the people I work with.
That's incredible. So when you were going through this transition of, was college ever a thought, or it was just, we're getting right into the workforce because we don't?
I think I did a couple of weeks at college, but the teachers there seemed to find me distasteful. You know what really bugs me, and it's still a real bugbear. I mean, I have 4 boys, and not one of them is going to go to university, and not because I've not encouraged them or pushed them away from it. They've decided they wanted to craft their own path, and I think, you know, the education system hasn't changed for 50, 60 years. They're still teaching the same way they did in the late 90s. And I don't think And I don't think kids are coming out clever enough or bright enough. And then you've got that big gap of people who are going to really good universities, coming out with incredible educations and coming out spoiled and entitled. And, I just think that we need some more hungry individuals. Rebel kids don't become teachers. Rebel kids become entrepreneurs. And then what happens is that they start teaching people. So in a funny sort of way, rebel kids do become teachers, but they don't. They teach people the way that they enjoy to be learned, or they create an environment. That's what I've always done. That's what I built at Inc. Was I wanted to create an environment where I wanted to come to work, where I enjoy work. If anybody looks at my LinkedIn or my Instagram, you can see our new office, and we've just turned it into like a Soho house where we've got sofas and coffee machines and all this bars and everything there. We want people to be comfortable at work. Some of the employees have said they'd rather sleep at the office and go home to their flats or their apartments. But I want to create an environment, and pre-pandemic we did that. We really did create an amazing office with amazing cultures, traveling all over the world, every corner of the globe. On March 20th, 2020, we're due to fly to Lapland with 15 of my top people to go and have a conference. And unfortunately, COVID killed that off. So we just have fun. We work really hard. I do make people work really hard because I believe in hard work is part of the mission, but also we play even harder.
Yeah. And that's one of the keys. So you end up excelling in insurance. What made you take that leap to start Inc?
I really wanted to be a real estate agent. I think that tends to be on the CV of most people. And because I couldn't get a job, my first job applications had always been to be a real estate agent, and they kept turning me down. So what you do when you make some money, you buy your own one, and that's what I did. And it coincided with the greatest recession or the greatest property crash in the 80s. But I survived for about a year, which was about a year longer than anybody gave me credit for. And then that business failed, but not before I'd acquired some great property and had some great fun. And then my friend, who I met on my very first day selling insurance, came back. He was knocking on the door one day, and he got picked by a model agent who said, "Young boy, you're very good looking." And he became the face of Tango and KP Peanuts. And he went off around the world. They paid him lots of money, and he managed to blow it. And he came back just as my agency was collapsing, and he said, "I've got a great idea, Si. Let's start this advertising business." And that's what we did. And we built this advertising business from selling little maps. So sort of these maps to where you live with all your suppliers. So your plumber, your doctor, your dentist, with their adverts all day round. So that's how we started. From that, we said, let's start a magazine. And again, this was, deep in recession in the early 90s. Yeah. What do we know about magazines? Absolutely nothing. Let's start one anyway. Let's create a magazine for all the posh areas of London. So that's what we did. And that's how I first got into publishing. Roll forward 10 years. Paul came in one day. He said, "Si, I've fallen in love with this girl and I'm going to move to Australia. The business is yours." And I went, "Oh, thanks." And at that point, I met Michael Keating, who is my partner today, and we've been partners for 27 years. And together we built Inc. into the powerhouse business that it is today. So that's
wow. That transfer is very interesting. Usually you don't hear partnerships just go that way. It's incredible. And what did you see in your other partner that you brought in?
In the new one or the old one?
The new one that you felt the need to bring in a partner.
He came. It's really funny, In the early days, he'd come in and he'd talk about this amazing business. He would wax lyrically about what an amazing business we are. We do this, we do that. And I'm like, Michael, we don't do any of those things. He goes, no, it doesn't matter. Just say it anyway. And guess what? They all started to come true. And now today I'm the one that waxes lyrically about what we do. And he just goes, we don't do that. I said, doesn't matter. It'll come true. And most of them did over the years. And, we've been a formidable force. He's very much, it's very important with a partner that he does his thing, you do your thing. I've always been the commercial and the I guess the way I best describe it is I make the money and he spends it.
You do the sales, yeah. You keep them, you bring it in, and that's what feeds everything. So you're on this trajectory. You guys are doing exceptional. What was different between like 08, 09 recession and then what was going on in COVID?
If you want to add 9/11 and 2012, add 2012, add a mixture of digital transformation in 2015, package them all together, and COVID was 10 times worse than all of those.
Really?
So through even after 9/11, the planes were grounded for a couple of days, and then everything started flying again. 2007, 2008, there was never a plane out the sky. It was, people, whoever had a job didn't really get affected by what was going on. They carried on spending money. And even when countries were going bust in 2012, people just kept going on their holidays. So the travel was never impacted. Why COVID was so bad, it was airports were shut, planes were switched off, countries were locked down, and we couldn't go anywhere. So our whole business ethos, which we've been waxing lyrically about for the last 20 years, that it was recession proof, suddenly got kicked really firmly in the nuts.
Wow. And when this was all going on, it sounds like you guys prepared at all? Like, did you guys have an idea that this was coming, or it just?
Should have done.
What?
We should have done, because we have offices in Asia. And they kept telling us about this virus that was going on. But we've had bird flu before. We've had SARS. they never really had an effect on us. So we just assumed that it'll be gone. And then I started asking so-called intelligent people what they thought, and they said, the West can withstand this. This is not. This will come and go. It'll be nothing. How wrong everybody was. And I, someone asked me the other day, what would I do if it happened again? And I think I'd act a little bit quicker. I tried to keep everybody as whole and keep the business as whole and keep as many people together as I could, because I thought it'd be 12 weeks and we'd be out of it and we'd be back in business.
Wow. So what was the timeline from it happening? Like March 2020 happens. Everything before that was fine. Like you were hearing whispers. Then basically everything starts shutting down, as we all saw. At this time, what are you thinking? Where did your head go? And then we'll go forward to see how you overcame.
We battled it. December 19, best month ever. Just January 20, best month we've ever had. February 2020, we're on a roll here. This is going to be a fantastic year. March 9th, so we've published all the March editions, and now we started getting phone calls from airlines going, we need to take this magazine off the plane. People are scared to touch it. They think it's transferring COVID. And we're like, oh, God, let's just hope there's only a few of these. And then one by one, we had 39 magazines at this point. 39 magazines. Our nearest competitor had 4. So we really did dominate this space. We'd gone after it in 2005 and said, this is going to be our space. In 2007, 2008, everyone said, look, print is dead, don't bother with it. And here we were sort of 14 years later, and it's still our strongest part of our business. And we had to make some decisions. All that money that we'd spent publishing these magazines, printing these magazines, distributing these magazines, suddenly, in a heartbeat, they're gone. And, and one by one, each airline took it off. Some used it as an opportunity to kill the magazine and never to bring it back. Today, we have 3 magazines as part of our transformation. We still have a few magazines, but nowhere near as many as we had when we went in.
Wow. That can be, that's a lot to take on.
At one point I thought, why not just chuck the towel in? End of March 2020, you're thinking, I don't think, probably not that early, probably about May time when we've been locked down for about 60 days. I'm thinking, there's no way we're going to get this back. This is finished.
Yeah.
What I did was, and the theme of my new book, which has just come out, is the diary of the last 25 months. So I sat there and I started to document what happened, what was going through my head, how I was feeling, what I did to react. And I started calling on people I knew, some people I didn't know, but I'd heard of. And one by one, they all said they'd come and help me. They'd come and talk to my team, because I had a team of 150 salespeople all sitting there, tapping their fingers going, what are we going to do, Si? What are we going to do? What can we sell? And I had people coming to me and going, look, you've got a great sales team. Do you want to come and sell PPE? And I'm like, no, I don't want to sell PPE. I don't want to sell. I don't want to go in. I don't want to get my head into that concept
realm.
I believe it's all going to come back. It's going to come back soon. So I started bringing these speakers in, and they would talk about everything from kindness, positivity, health, well-being. Then we did negotiating, selling. What else do we have? Grit, determination, gratitude, fear. All the emotions that we were all going through. The funny thing is, I remember one of the speakers saying to the team, how many of you are anxious, nervous, worried about the situation now? And everyone puts their hands up and said, and about a year ago, how many of you were anxious, nervous, worried about hitting your targets? They all put their hands up. So basically, we're all just nervous and anxious and worried about something different. And next year it'll be something else. And that was the real truth about the situation is, we're always going to be worried, anxious and nervous about something. And it's how you deal with that is what comes out the other end. So all these speakers came in, and I had 52 speakers in the end. And I wrote that whole book and that whole diary of everything that was going on, everything that was affecting my mind, my thinking, my negotiating. And each of them played a pivotal part, really, because whilst I thought they were coming in to help my team, what I realized was actually they were helping me, because my thinking started to change. I started to see things differently. The messages started to seep in, and how I would communicate with people, how I'd negotiate with people. Chris Voss was a great help to me. I was doing a very big negotiation, and he came on, he said, look, what are you doing? And I said, I'm doing this. He goes, no, don't do it that way. Do it this way. And it worked out brilliantly for me. So I got access, a bit like you did with the podcast. I got access to people that I wouldn't normally talk to on a daily basis, suddenly became good friends. Tim Story became an absolute bellwether for me, and he really helped me and coached me through this whole period. Mark Goulston, Jordan Belfort came into the stint as well and smashed some energy back into my head. And he said to me, look, if anyone can get out of this, you can. And I thought, well, I can't let him down, and I can't let all these other people down. So I'm going to keep battling through. And sometimes that's all you need. You just need somebody to tell you that they believe in you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you're bringing up a very valuable point of people with different perspectives helping you, and people providing that guidance and that reassuring tone and conversation where it's like, I can get this done. I can get this done. Because even if you just lose your belief and you're lustering yourself for a day, a week, a year, it's not gone. It just needs to be revitalized. And I think you bring up a very valid point there by having these superstar team come in and having them impact who you're speaking with, and realizing that it's really a great value exchange.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's super big. So I guess that covers my next question was going to be, how do you stay sane while the world is falling apart? But it seems like one of the ways is from outside sources. And if you wanted to add anything else, because I mean, there's constant chaos going on in the world. We just hit, like, in the US, they hit the bear market yesterday, from the top of the COVID. Like, there's just so many things going on. So what is one way that you stay really reassured in who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, I think I can't remember who said it to me, but said just, if you go to hell, make sure you bring a gift back with you. It's like last month I was in Helsinki airport and I was thinking, I'm in hell. I've finally got here. But it really is. It's about the people you surround yourself with, and I know that's a bit of a cliche, but I really did surround myself with some brilliant people. I removed anybody who was being negative or giving me negative feedback. I just said, look, I love you very much, but right now I need to believe that I can get us out of this situation. If you don't want to be part of that, or you don't feel that you could contribute to that, it's time for you to go somewhere else, because I lost so much of my team because they couldn't make any money, and they'd all been very well remunerated all the way through, but now they didn't have a product to sell. They were all struggling, and I couldn't do anything to help them. So we had to keep saying, we had to keep having this sort of, it's not me, it's you conversation, and that was the hardest thing to deal with, was just people who've been with me a decade plus who I had to say goodbye to. I guess the thing was I kept writing. I wrote 3 books in the end. I mean, the new one is a summation of it all. But I wrote a fable about all this type thing, about mentoring, about coaching, about having people around you, called White Belt Thinking. And I wrote poems. And I didn't think I was a poet. I didn't think I had that in me. But I was surprised that every day there was more and more poetry coming out, and I started posting on Instagram underneath the motivational poet, and people started sharing it and liking it and saying, "Oh," I'm thinking, "Wow, okay." And some of the biggest names on the internet started sharing my poems, and I thought, "Oh, this is maybe I'll write another one." And I checked last week. I posted 527 poems. So
wow.
every day I put an original poem up, and that really helped me, because I think if you went and you look back through the poems, you could see some of the themes that were going through my head, some of the messages that I was putting down on paper that I was telling myself at the same time.
Did you track yourself always, or is this, because the reason I say this is because a lot of people tend to track their metrics, how they're doing, all of that stuff. But one of the important things, I think, is like really mental health and like where we're at. And one of the ways people can track that is just by seeing how they feel each day. And like that poem is kind of your, hey, this is how I feel each day. Whether it's good, bad, anything, I put it on paper, I share it. If people like it, fine. If people don't, that's fine too. But at least it got me to feel better. You know what I mean? We all have so many challenges, and to track yourself each day, I think is really important. Is this new, or you did this your whole life?
No, this was new. I mean, I found time every day to do some writing. I found time to go to the gym. I found time that I was investing in me. So I was putting me on the calendar first before I put all the podcasts or the meetings or the phone calls. I made sure that me was looked after first, because the only way we were going to get through it is if me was in a good place mentally. And it's really interesting you say that, because when we got to the end, I felt really positive, and I thought I'd done a good job of being like the lighthouse and being this sort of spotlight for everybody to keep everyone else safe. And then once I could see the light at the end of the tunnel, my life fell apart. I fell apart. I was like, just imagine like a sailor bringing the ship back to shore, and like it's riddled with holes, and I did it, and then suddenly my body gave way. Then I got COVID for the first time, and so June, July 2021, I was a broken human. And I'll tell you something interesting about that as well, is I wonder how many books have been written by people who are pretty much broken, giving good advice to somebody else how to do things. Because there's a lot of that, sometimes you have to go through that hell to be able to show people that there is something at the end of it as well.
Yeah. And I think what you're bringing up, and it is sometimes to show other people, but I feel like sometimes, a lot of the time, we're showing ourselves. Like, we're showing ourselves what we're able to overcome and what we can do and what's possible. Because, yeah.
Well, the first chapter in the book is no one knows how strong you are, to being strong is the only option.
I love that. It's really pivotal stuff. And I feel like we don't think about it enough because, yes, I mean, there's the employee, there's the entrepreneur, there's the salesperson, there's all these different dynamics, but it's what allows you to really step up in that time of need when you have to go, I need to take control of this situation. I'm taking ownership of this. And like, I read the book by Jocko Winnick, it's Extreme Ownership. And that one really put everything in perspective, that it's all on you. Like, what your life is dictated by your decisions from the past. And it's all on you to have ownership of that and realize that you're in control of your life.
No, absolutely. So, I mean, mental health, and I don't really like that term because I lived next door to a mental hospital when I was growing up, and I saw what mental patients look like. And, so there's a huge gap between that and I like to call it emotional well-being, but
Emotional well-being. I like that.
Mental health has always been a big thing in our business. Anyway, way before COVID, I had CBT counselors, I had performance coaches, I had all these people who were managing my sales force because you only perform at your best. Just like a sports team, they have all these places they can go and talk. So I brought that in. So that was a big part of our team, was that we had people around us who we could go talk to if we didn't feel we were on it, we were in the right place. So it's always been something that's been really close to my heart. And I continue to keep performance coaches on the payroll, and I'll keep doing it because I want people to get better. I've always said this is not how good they are, it's how good they can be. And I can see in people, like I had a couple of one-to-ones this morning with some of the younger people who's just started in the business, and I can see talent in those people. And that's what I want to help them bring it out. They don't believe they've got talent. They don't believe they can achieve what I think they can achieve. So now we've just got to close that gap and help them, see what's potential and possible for them. And I always say to them, look, you can borrow my confidence, you can borrow my belief, you can borrow my happiness, you can borrow any of my qualities that you like, borrow any of them until you find your own. And I think it's really important.
Absolutely. So in that dynamic, what are you doing? How do you build that gap? And then also, what advice would you give to your younger self in this day and age, like in this time?
Well, to fill the gap, it's constant and never-ending training. We are, and I, someone asked me about, how did you get so many in-flight magazines? And I said, because I never ever was satisfied. I'd always go back to the client way before we were coming up for tender. Most people, when they're coming up for tender, they go, okay, now this is what we're going to do better. I was doing this every month, every year. I was coming back and going, how can we make this better? Let's do some focus groups. Let's do some more things. Let's challenge ourselves here to make a better edition. So when it came up for tender, nobody would ever match how good we were as a partner. So that's why we never lost the magazines. I don't think in all the years, I can't even remember more than one or two magazines we might have lost in a tender, because we were that good at being a partner to our airlines. I guess the advice I'd give my younger self, I'm lucky because I get to do it every day. My 22-year-old son worked for me straight out of school, and he went through all my training and all my the life of hard knocks, and
Yeah.
put up with it for 3 years. I think if you can survive a year, you can be anything you want to be. And he proved me right. And he started his own business in the middle of COVID. He was one of those people that come and said, "Dad, yeah, I love you very much, but I want to leave and start my own business." And I went, "Okay, good, let's do it." We were in Aruba on holiday, actually. And I said, "What do you want to do?" He said, "I want to be an influencer manager. I've been helping my friends. They're all 20-year-olds and they're all making lots of money being influencers." He goes, "I want to manage influencers." He had one client, and today he has 100 clients. They're doing hundreds of brand deals for their influencers. And I get to talk to him, and it's a bit like me talking to my 21-year-old self. He's as probably more driven than I am, more dynamic than I was at that age. And he's doing an unbelievable job. And, I'm getting to relive my youth through him. And the best thing is he's replicating my playbook. So the playbook that I did at Inc., he's replicating it. So he's taking his staff on amazing trips. He took his whole team to the Maldives for Christmas, and then he flew them down in a private jet for a week's workation in France. So it's, I get to live that and give him advice, and most of the time he listens to me, which is something I never really did to my dad.
That's absolutely incredible. It's amazing how you were able to have your son be as driven as you were, because usually I find that like lacks in the following generation. It can be a difficult process. So congratulations to you.
If people ever say to me, "What's your greatest achievement?" is bringing up 4 really powerful boys who I think will become great leaders and great members of society. And I think that's much more powerful than anything else I've ever done.
Yeah, incredible. So for you, hearing about all of this, hearing about these accomplishments, I know one thing that's very near and dear to you is the airline industry. So where is that today with everything going on? I know with the US, they just passed that you don't need COVID tests. And like, are there airline workers? Like, we've had canceled flights. Like, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, nobody imagined that this was going to come back as quickly as it did. They were predicting Q4 2023, I think, at one point. And here we are in Q2 2022, and we're already surpassing 19. And if they could get their act together, we'd be smashing the numbers. I'm in London. I don't know how many flights have been cancelled. All the headlines today are all the airlines are going on strike. Ryanair's going on strike. British Airways going on strike this summer. And to me, all I hear is, you're going to ruin the 1 week that people have saved up for all this year. Most of them have been locked up for 2.5 years, and they're desperate to go on holiday. And the headlines are right now are shocking. But I always say this, like anything, like any strike, they start and eventually they finish, and these things get fixed. And I do think that the industry will get their act together. They'll get it back. I took 7 flights last week. 1 was cancelled, but only due to weather. And it was unbelievable. It was great being, jumping from city to city, going, and I literally went halfway around the world, and it was a breeze. And so I think, I don't know how many flights are a day, 25,000, and maybe 1,000 and get cancelled. So in proportion, the bad news makes a lot more of the headlines than the fact that 90% of the people got there on time. But
Yeah.
But it's bad news that sells, not good news. And the good news is the industry is coming back. It's coming back way faster than anyone thought it would do, and it's bloody exciting. And I'm glad to be a part of it. And we sat down last week and we said, right, what are we now? Because before we were the kings of the inflight magazine, and now we're sort of got this amazing TV network called ReachTV, and we've got these other digital products which allow us to target travellers on the move. And we've got sponsorship at airports, we've got sponsorship in plane, we've got live sports in travel, we've got the NFL playing at the airports. So we came up with this tagline which said, we're the marketplace if you want to reach travellers. So if any of your audience is like, I want to reach travellers, and I'd say, why would you want to reach travellers? Well, because they're the richest consumer, the fastest moving consumer, most opportunistic consumer, the best consumers you can find. And right now, because of everything that's going on in the industry, the price of travel is going through the roof. So they've got plenty of money. And that's why you want to reach them. And, anybody who wants to reach out to us and talk to us, we'll help them business grow again. And, if there is any testament to helping businesses grow, just look at what we've been through and what we've managed to turn around. And that's what I want to help other people do as well.
It's absolutely incredible. And also, how do you go on 7 flights? What are you up to?
Well,
You just checking it on the run me through it, because that is just not a common fact. Most people aren't like, I took 7 flights. I thought you were going to say over the last month. 7 days.
Yeah, I started in London, went to New York, had a board meeting in New York. Then I flew to Arizona. And then I flew from Arizona to New York, from New York to Washington, had a quick meet in Washington. Then I flew to Paris. I went to the French Open and the Champions League final in Paris. And then I got the Eurostar home. So actually one of the flights was a train, but same concept.
My goodness. The fast life.
No, that's the life I'm living now, and that was one of the things that I said to myself out of COVID. I know what day I was born. I've got no idea when I'm going. So, but in between times, I'm going to make sure that every month is the best month of my life. And if you follow me on LinkedIn, you can see that I document what I've done each month, and it's been amazing 2022. And I want that for me. I want it for my family, and I want it for everybody who works for me. So. Anyone who wants to have fun and go to the best sporting occasions on the planet, come work at Inc.
I love it. So the last thing, what's your daily routine? How does one keep a daily routine when they travel so much?
It's hard to keep a diet as well. That's also been one of the challenges. I go to the gym most mornings. I get up early. That's the first thing I do. So I try and put some exercise in, and I'll listen to a podcast or an interview or something that's going to absolutely fill me with positivity while I'm going. And then I come back and I drive to work, and that's another 30 minutes. So I have an audio book on that journey as well. I don't listen to news. I don't listen to the radio. I don't listen to anything that's not injecting me with positivity. And then I get to the office, and we'll see what magic we can make happen. And depending which office I'm in, I'll sit and I'll talk to the guys, and we'll brainstorm, and we'll come up with ideas, and I'll fight fires, and whatever needs fixing, they'll ask me to fix, and things that don't need fixing, I'll sit there with my feet on the desk and enjoy the day and work out, what adventures I want to go on next and who I want to take with me on that adventure.
I love that. And how do you prioritize business, but also adventures and doing sports? And because I find that there's a lot of people who get obsessed with the work, but don't have the time where they're really enjoying.
Yeah, that was me. I remember reading my son a bedside story once when they were young, and I'm reading the story in one hand, and I'm looking at my phone and responding to a text in the other. And I remember him turning around to me and going, "Dad, that's not the words. Can you get off your phone, please?" And I thought, this isn't right. I'm not doing something right here. So, I've been on this journey and I've gone through it. And, if you want to find out how I did it, come talk to me, because that's what I mastered. I mastered that over the last decade, I guess, of how you run a business, how you enjoy business, how you get great performance, but also you find time for yourself.
Yeah. It's one of the biggest challenges, because you find these people that are working in the business for the business, but it's not their business. and it doesn't make it a fun dynamic. So I'm glad there's always a little bit of fun thrown in there.
It's so possible, and this is one thing that I'm seeing. If you actually think about what I'm saying about my son, he's a 22-year-old Gen Z, Gen Y, whatever that is now. They're supposed to be lazy, entitled, complete opposite, right? So we can't generalist and we can't label everybody. And he's having fun and he's enjoying himself, right? Because he's following a formula that I've helped him create and I helped myself create, which is that you've got to work your time, work your diary, so you're putting you in there first. You become the priority of any diary that you keep.
I love that. And when you find you need to make a big decision or changes among you, how do you think about that? Do you reference the
I normally get out of the place so I'm thinking about it. So, don't use the same brain that's thinking about the problem to try and solve the problem. I'll go for a long walk. I'll go and sit by the seaside. The bigger the problem, the further away I get from the office. Seriously, I mean, sometimes I'll get on an aeroplane and go somewhere and just go, right, I'm going to go and sit by the sea in the south of France because that's an hour and a half away, and just sit there with a coffee and just think about it, with a blank sheet of paper, and see what I can do, see what comes out. Or I'll go and spend time with people who are cleverer than me. I mean, that's the best place to go, is find someone who's been there, done that, and fix that problem. There's three questions you ask somebody if you're asking for advice. One, would you swap places with them?
Yeah.
If you wouldn't swap places with them, for God's sake, don't ask them for advice. Have they done what you want to do? Don't ask them for advice. If they haven't done what you want to do or where you want to go. And the third one is, if their life is a little bit of a pickle or a mess, it's a bit like going to ask a 3-time divorcee for marriage advice. You've got to make sure that the person that you're asking advice is definitely someone whose opinion you value and is validated.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I think that's really powerful stuff. And one other thing I would add is something I've always found interesting is in the space of mentorship and advice and coaching, the same person might not be able to coach you in marriage, but they can coach you in business. Or someone might be able to coach you in loving your child, but might not be able to help you in business. So I think if you segment these different areas of your life and ask the right people, then it will really allow for some real acceleration instead of being like, I like this about them, but I don't love this.
Absolutely. And always take the advice. What was the words to that song? Always take the advice kindly with those who are dispensing it to you, but don't always listen to it. Parents don't always want to give you great advice, but don't always give you great advice. I think the reason that my son listens to me is because he's seen what I've been through and I've come through the other end. He doesn't ask me for advice on lots of things, on other things, but he'll go to somebody else for that advice because I can't give him that advice that he needs. So it's about finding the right people who've got the right experience.
Absolutely.
And be kind with them, dispense it.
I love that. So, Simon, where can people find you? Where I know you mentioned Instagram, LinkedIn. Where else?
LinkedIn is where I make I diarise my month. So if people want to keep up with what's going on, and Ink-Global. If you're interested in coming to work for us in Miami, in London, in Singapore, that's follow the business, see what the business is doing. We're always looking for hungry talent, young hungry talent, old hungry talent. I don't mind. Anybody, lots of experience, no experience. I just want to help people grow. I want to help people develop. I want to see I want to rebuild what we built from sort of 2005 to 2020. We had the most amazing organization, and I want to rebuild that again. And we went from 300 people down to about 100, and we're slowly growing back up again. But I need more people, and I need more people who want to change their life and live a life of adventures, because that's what's important to me.
I love that. And what are you looking for specifically, just so the audience could help? Is it like sales? Is it operations? Is it a little bit of everything?
Everything. I mean, I probably could do with 50 more salespeople. We've got that much inventory. We've got that much opportunity that, as many salespeople want to come knock on the door, we'll listen to. But we've got operational jobs. We've got marketing jobs. We've got videographer jobs. We've got lots of jobs in lots of places, because I want to get back up to that 150 million again. And I'm not sure I'll do it this year, but I'll do it next year for sure.
I love it. I'll put all that in the show notes for Ink Global and your LinkedIn. Thank you. This has been absolutely amazing.
No, thank you. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you for reaching the end of the podcast. For that, we'll give you a complimentary coaching session in the link below with Edwards Consulting. Hope to see you there, and have a great day, and keep clocking in.